Yeah, that actually ties in perfectly to our first topic and our first segment of this podcast, which is Pokemon content creating. And I understand that, like, I guess you feel like you don't have too much skin in the game, and you love, like you said, it's a hobby and stuff. But definitely, I feel like you have some type of niche or knack for content creating because your main channel is pretty successful, like in most people's eyes, or in my eyes at least. I mean, I know you like to downplay yourself, but
you know what? I'll say in my eyes too. I think I'm doing an I think I'm doing a bang up job.
Okay, yeah, I think you're doing a bang job. I think you downplay a lot. Like some of the podcasts or interview when you get interviewed, you're like, oh, just like, yeah. I'm like, no, Jarvis, you do a really great job, and as far as your research and how you protrude and how you explain yourself. But I guess the question or something I would like to ask you, or food for thought, is how do you view like the Pokemon content creating world in your eyes? You know, because since you have reached a different echelon of content creating, how do you view it? Do you feel like maybe there's something different or something that can be improved on? Are we on the next tier of creating content? Like, how do you feel from your eyes?
So I think the beginning of my answer would just be to echo back to what I was saying before about how I feel like there's a lot of different parts of the Pokemon community on YouTube that don't necessarily talk to each other. Sometimes there's crossovers. You know, you've got people like Super Duper Danny maybe doing a box break or something, but also doing VGC content or doing a Let's Play or something like that. Or collabing with somebody like Dobbs, who's doing a lot more of that entertainment, fun facts, like Pokemon lore type content. And I think that's really interesting. I think that some parts of the community, like for example, the Pokemon like market channels or channels that are discussing things in like the TCG, as far as people who are buying and collecting Pokemon cards, I guess the collectibles community with Pokemon is in a fairly it seems to me like it's very young, and it's very it's coming into its own. Like I'm seeing a lot of channels start right now where I'm like, okay, Pat Flynn's channel is going to be like huge in a year. For sure. Like I'm pretty sure, you know, and like even Pokerev, when I think I first found him at like 50K subscribers, and then like I was like, oh, for sure, like this is going somewhere. But also I'm not the decider of that. The decider of that is it's a combination of things, but one of the reasons I think that a lot of people who are smaller creators now will become much bigger later is that the actual like viewer base, like the YouTube algorithm is still kind of collecting, it's still amassing the groups of people that are going to be interested in this sort of content, where you can look at, you know, I feel like if you Google like, oh yeah, you know, another person I watch a lot of videos from is JRose11, who does a lot of those like, what can you beat Pokemon Yellow with only a Pidgey or something, or a something like that.
I recommend it all the time.
Yeah. And I will watch his videos for hours because it's like very relaxing to me. And it's like, I don't know, J Rose, tell me what the challenges are of this of this playthrough. A Shedinja, you say, like, or like, what's gonna happen?
A Weedle, jeez.
Yeah, exactly. So, or even like I can't remember the guy's name. It's like Ant or something like that. He's a streamer, and he's like a pretty mainstream streamer who like will do stream like Pokemon challenges and stuff like that. But
I feel like it's pretty common, right? Like as far as like VGA and TCG, or whether it be collectibles, like they're in their own niches. Like even if you kind of compare it to other collecting or other topics, they don't kind of intertwine. Like in the like, let's say video games like Street Fighter, for example, like the people that do the trading card games or the collectible figurines don't mesh with the people that actually play the game, I guess. So I guess that's fairly common.
So I think it's common, yes, but I also think that more than a lot of things, Pokemon has a lot of overlap across across the different things. You know what I mean? So
okay.
But that type of like, I have a little pet theory. I haven't given this too much thought, but YouTube really rewards like homogeneity. Like it rewards channels that do one thing and do one thing well. And if they split, you'll often notice this may hit closer to home, but if there's not many channels that can put a full podcast episode on a channel that's normally doing like 10 to 15-minute videos about maybe even some related topic and have those videos like perform well versus if it was a separate podcast channel in it of itself. And the reason is because the viewer behavior for someone who's watching or listening to a podcast is very different than somebody who's like looking at like a 10 to 15-minute video. So I wonder if in the future there will be some like congealing and combining of these audiences, or if it will remain like sort of separated and very like just like not unconnected. But I think that like I think of like the collectible side as like another pillar of the very large, like, so going back to niches, Pokemon as a whole is very big, but the TCG I think is still comparatively small, or collectibles is still comparatively small compared to even other it's like you look at like a Zion Williamson pop report or like a Luka Doncic like pop report, and there's thousands and thousands of cards, like
there's a lot.
Versus like even the biggest, most printed, most well-known Pokemon sets are maybe only like Evolution's pop report is probably not going to look like that even after all of the hype, right? So I still think that like I'm pretty, like, not to use an investing term, but I'm like pretty bullish on the community as a whole, but I do think that like it will grow. I think and I hope that the collectibles like community will grow, but now I still see it as like a fairly small community on YouTube, which has a lot of very large niches, and it's still like experiencing growing pains. Like I think the discussions with like Frosted Caribou's video and all of the responses to that were very like indicative of those growing pains. And I'm hopeful for a bigger, better, brighter future. Like, but I'm already a satisfied consumer of the content that I'm seeing.
Right. I like to attribute a lot of growth to really everyone's. I like to attribute a lot of growth to a lot of Pokemon content creators. It doesn't necessarily have to be TCG, but I like to attribute a lot of that growth to the exposure that we had last year. There's a lot of exposure that's going on that happened last year, whether it was Logan Paul or Logic or anything of the sort. Shoot, even Steve Aoki. And even this year, like we don't know what's to come this year, and so like, a lot of accounts grew. I know my account in August was sitting on TikTok was sitting at 2,000 followers, and now it's hitting 37,500 followers on TikTok, and then on Instagram, really, I mean my growth has been kind of consistent. I wouldn't say like I had like huge spurts there. Like there's times where it lulls out, but there's a lot of YouTubers that just grew very, very tremendously. Twice Baked Jake, Caribou grew very, very fast.
She grew a bunch because I found her videos through her How to Play the TCG series, because I got back into playing the TCG. So I actually play the game, guys. No, but I got back into like the TCG and playing like on PTCGO and stuff.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah, and I was watching. I started watching her videos and was like, how much of the Pokemon? My question being, how much have the rules changed since I was a kid? And a surprisingly few. Like, because we're still printing cards that existed 25 years ago that have almost exactly the same effect, but that's really great for me, and I like felt like I was able to jump back in and like enjoy it immediately.
Yeah,
I think Pokemon does that because it allows like every new generation to really come into the TCG, and they're able to pick things up relatively fast, and then they're able to make their decks to their own capacity and so on and so forth.
I mean, not to be selfish, but it was I also collect and play, and I'm interested in Yu-Gi-Oh, and there's dramatically more friction for me to like pick up the modern Yu-Gi-Oh rule set and how like the metas have changed.
Oh man,
I agree. It's so weird because like when you watch like the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh, like it basically taught you how to play the game.
Exactly.
I mean, there were very few instances where like Yugi just made up his own rules, but
right. Well, yeah, they cheat in the game, but the bare minimum is like, or in the anime, but still the bare minimum is fair. There's some sort of recognizable transfer.
Yeah, and it's a lot different in the newer seasons of Yu-Gi-Oh that I've noticed. It's not entirely about showing you how to play the game entirely. It's just more so about the actual storyline, I suppose. But you know, I loved Yu-Gi-Oh as a kid, so like that's the TCG I went to right after Pokemon because I thought it was a little bit more grown up.
Exactly.
The artwork was just fire.
I went Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, then Magic the Gathering.
Oh,
yeah. It was Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and then just the video games from Pokemon goes.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah. So. I was just to get back on path.
I was gonna say I feel like I completely derailed the question.
No, I'll get us back on. So like when I was thinking as far as content creating goes, it was I feel like there's a shift. Like as far as the growing pains, I get where you're how I interpreted when you said growing pains is initially it was just pack openings, right? People love pack openings. That was what people watch in terms of, I guess I can't speak for, I've watched some of the game VGA gameplays and I've watched some of the TCGO, but my main niche is card opening and collecting. So I see people start with collecting, cracking opening packs and, you know, just getting excited, the nostalgia part of it, right? Yeah. Nostalgia just rules over. And then I see this shift that is like, I guess breaking, like box opening and breaking, and all of a sudden it's information about investing or like what I should buy, what I should collect, and that could be due to the influx or variables of people coming in, whether it be like just to make money, whatever it may be, right? And then now I'm seeing slabs, like people enjoy the process of getting back grades for cards, BGS, PSA. People enjoy that videos like that. So I just feel like even we see people make that shift before I was doing the back openings, and all of a sudden, and I personally enjoy talking about the market now because I do it with Shiv on a daily basis. We talk to each other all the time. So I guess not my question is like, how do you feel like how will it keep revolutionizing, adapting? But I'm seeing this shift into like now people don't really enjoy. I wouldn't say they don't enjoy it, but they're making a shift into like slabs. You know, they enjoy watching people reveal what I got for my grade. I just got my PSA slab. So it's as far as adapting goes, and as far as like, you know, growing pains, that's kind of what came into thought.
So okay, no, this is interesting because like I have watched like pack openings and things like that far before like the Logan Paul break. Because like, but it was very casual for me. Like I would every now and again watch like a Simply Unlucky video where he was like opening Yu-Gi-Oh product and stuff. And then or I would be watching Leonhardt like open some vintage packs and I would go, "Oh my god, like the nostalgia." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what I noticed is that I got back into Yu-Gi-Oh collecting before I got back into Pokemon collecting in pack opening and stuff like that through my friend Ruxin34. Shout out.
Yeah.
And like that community it's like, it feels to me like it was I just don't know the creators who were talking about like PSA grading and doing like PSA returns videos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like Yu-Gi-Oh at least had there were at least a few content creators I could think of that were doing that content, you know, like prior to like the Logan Paul break. And I even see it with like sports collectors, like that sort of that video type already existed on YouTube for various collectible card games or trading card games. But then it like kind of provided this market validation in terms of like the YouTube metagame, like what people are making videos about. That's like, oh, okay, like now we're all grading our videos. PSA grade reveals are a thing. Let's there's an audience that probably wants to see this stuff. So I do think it's like the circle of life that like we weren't. It's the natural progression of.
That's what I'm saying. It's like we were guiding them. Like before it was PSA, they didn't know. They're like, oh, PSA, whatever. We want to watch pack openings. Now they've graduated into the information type, and now they're like, oh, we know this information. Now we can watch the PSA videos. Maybe I don't know.
So I talk to Dino pretty often. Rhyme Style, shout out to Rhyme Style, and you know his content,
he's OG. He's like
he's an OG. Like when it comes to PSA stuff, like he does a lot of PSA graded return videos. And like for me, like knowing what's going on as far as PSA goes, or a lot of these grading company goes, how viable is it to really make content around PSA returns when you're not getting stuff back at a very consistent rate? Like I am a PSA middleman. I had people send cards to me every single month, and I said, like, guys, if you send cards every single month and things are as normal as they are, you're going to have returns every single month. Once you have that sort of feed going on. And essentially with what's going on right now, like it's hard for a lot of people to get their cards back. And so like it's kind of difficult to create content around PSA slab returns unless you have very, very rare cards. And on top of that,
I mean, the wave is coming though, right? Like eventually it's just there's gonna be this huge influx onto the market as far as slabs go.
Real quick on that, on both of your points, I think that, so first of all, I don't want to mischaracterize like people weren't doing like PSA returns and pack opening stuff, because it's like it's been happening, it's like, but the big boom of opening products to me is like naturally followed by a big boom of like, okay, I've got these cards, now what, right? We saw the Logan Paul break, we saw a ton of people on Twitch cracking boxes. And then all of those people who are watching those things are either receiving cards or they're going, well, hey, like maybe I should pick up a vintage pack myself. This seems kind of fun. And then you've got these cards, and it's like, what's the logical next step? Because especially when we're talking about the prices of things, because you can't watch a box break without somebody quoting the PSA 10 price of the chase card in the box, right? So if you're doing that, then there's you are almost setting up, you're teeing up a PSA, sending the cards out for grading, right? It's not like, yes, a Charizard. Now I'll put it in my binder and go to sleep. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So it's like the type of the behavior of like submitting to PSA was influenced by the way that the product openings were happening. Because I definitely, watched tons of pack openings before anybody was talking about, like, because before, not that I was super active in the community, but it's not like everybody was submitting every card to PSA. So you could very reasonably watch a pack opening video and not have somebody go, oh yeah, like I'm going to submit this to PSA, especially like with Yu-Gi-Oh, where there's like a smaller set of cards that there's even a market for buying, like graded slabs. So
a lot of content creators don't though, that I talk to in the Pokemon community. They just, it's a very few percentage that actually submit their cards. They just like the binder and they rather spend that money. Like even, do you know who Bo Dangers is? She's actually a middleman. Her personal collection, she's like, I know what the grades are. I know what I have. Why use that money or spend $100 when I can buy more products or whatever it may be to,
Right. I'm only speaking to the big wave of people, like the people who are cracking boxes on Twitch. A lot of that behavior necessitated by, wait, these cards are worth how much? Wait, like someone bought this card for how much? And then Logan Paul is also doing that. So it's kind of like the combo of everybody who's influenced by Logan Paul or that moment it was not just box breaking. It was not just selling single packs, but it was also talking about
Yeah.
the PSA 10 price and what the maximum price of the thing. A Charizard sold for $300,000. Wow, wow, wow. Or is my half-eaten Charizard from under my bed worth $300,000? I guess so. I don't know that I look, I don't know if I have the answers. I'm just calling it like I see it. I'm like,
oh no, that's why
we had a viral moment where everybody was like, I bought a $30,000 box and I hope to get like Mizkif or Ludwig or like any of these people.
Yeah.
Like they're talking, it's like a big gambling event. We were all just watching like, oh, is Mizkif gonna get the $100,000 Lugia card?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that was the specific type of inspiration for this like follow-up of thing. So I'm not surprised that like we saw basically after a bunch of big box breaks where everybody was talking about pricing, seeing like PSA card submissions in returns. That's all I was getting at. I don't want to. I'm not generalizing. I'm not trying to generalize. Just talking about like more specific.
Yeah, it's all based
on. No, you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah,
I'm just food for thought, But